So today we will learn about how to use the repeater tab. So let's not waste any time and let's get started. So Burp repeater is a tool that enables you to modify and send an interesting HTTP or WebSocket message repeatedly. You can use repeater for all kind of purposes. You can send a request with varying parameters values to test for input-based vulnerabilities, send a series of HTTP requests in a specific sequence to test for vulnerabilities in multi-step processes or those that rely on manipulating the connection state. After seeing the example, it will be clear to you. So we will look at the Portswiggle lab for demo purposes. So this is the lab in secure direct object reference. So I'm accessing the lab. So it will take some time to load. And make sure to turn on your burp suite Foxy proxy on. So first thing we need to do is I will map the application. Basically I will explore the application as deeply as possible. So let's click home, my account, live chat, hello, send. Let's go to home. Let's press this view details. Let's return to list. So now let's go to the proxy and HTTP history, and you can see that it has intercepted all the requests we just made. So when we are in HTTP history, we can see the requests it made, and our next step is to identify an interesting request. So this one looks interesting to me, and I will right click here and send this to repeater. So I'm in my repeater tab right now. So after that I can send the request from here and see the response here. So you can try to test with different inputs with burp repeater and see how it responds. Sometimes error messages can be useful. So it's currently in product ID 1. So if I change this to product ID 2, let's see what happens. I'm sending a request and it's also saying that 200. Okay, so now let's put some integer values here and let's see the response of this request, and we can see a 400 byte request. So sometimes you will intentionally try to get error messages because error messages sometimes contain technical details to help developers debug issues. However, they also display application data, database names, table structures, and more. And you can also exploit the details to launch attacks with this information. You can strategize targeted attacks to access sensitive data. So repeater also supports redirection. So if I press here, we can see all the options. It has update, content length, unpack, gzip, follow, redirection. It's now on the option never, but you can set the option to always, so it will follow the redirection and you will go to the website directly. You can also process cookies in redirections. You can enable HTTP2 connection reuse, strip connection head over HTTP2, and this is the option. We can also get this option by right clicking in the request tab also. You can also go to a website and paste the URL as a request. So if you don't understand, I will make you understand this one. So suppose I'm in this website and I want this to take it as a request, so I will just copy it and press the right click here and I will paste URL as a request. So you can see it has given us the request version of this website. So you can also do this by repeater. You can also change the settings of how you want to look at the request and response windows by clicking it here. These are the three options you have. For me, I think this one is the most suited one, so this is the one I choose. And the response is presented with the following display choices. Right now it has the pretty option, so this is the default option, which takes the raw response and applies slight formatting enhancements to improve readability. There is another option called raw. So this option displays the unmodified response directly received from the server without any additional formatting. There is also a response called hex. By selecting this view, we can examine the response in a byte level representation, which is particularly useful when dealing with binary files. Another option is render. So the render option allows us to visualize the page as it would appear in a web browser. While not commonly utilized in repeater, as our focus is usually on the source code, it still offers a valuable feature for most scenarios. The pretty option is generally sufficient. However, it is beneficial to be acquainted with the usage of the other three options. So this is how the render looks. Basically it shows us the web browser response. So now we'll look at the inspector option. So in the request attributes section, we can alter elements related to the location, method, and protocol of the request. This includes the modifying the desired resources to retrieve, changing the HTTP method from GET to another variant, or switching the protocol from HTTP 1 to HTTP 2. So this is the request attributes. Now let's look at the request query parameter. So this refers to data sent to the server via the URL. So request body parameter, similar to query parameters but specific to post requests. Any data sent as a part of a post request will be displayed in this section, allowing us to modify the parameters before resending. Now let's look at the request cookies. This section contains a modifiable list of cookies sent with each request. The request headers enables us to view, access, and modify any header sent with our request. Editing these headers can be valuable when examining or how a web server responds to unexpected headers. Now let's look at response header. This section displays the headers returned by the server in response to our requests. It cannot be modified as we have no control over the headers returned by the server. Note that this section becomes visible only after sending a request and receiving a response. We can further change the settings of repeater by going to the settings option, click the repeater option, and you can change the connections, message modification, redirect option, and the default tab group and the tab view you want to choose. So this was all about the tab repeater. I hope it was helpful for you to understand the basic concept of a repeater. So this was all from me today. Thank you.